And he said, I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to slip into something. And he came back in a robe.
Oh, God.
So now I am like freaking out because, I'm recognizing something's going wrong. So I'm there. I was 19 years old and he comes and he talks to me. And I said, we sat down, we talked. Now I'm thinking to myself, I better let him know I'm a good girl.
The casting couch culture has haunted Hollywood for decades, leaving scars on countless careers. Goldie Hawn, beloved for her charm and wit, recently opened up about a traumatic audition that left her shaken at just 19 years old. Her story involves famed cartoonist Capp and a disturbing encounter she says changed how she saw the industry. Goldie's early career. Before she became a household name, Goldie Hawn was a young dancer from Washington, D.C., trying to make it in show business. She had studied ballet and tap, performed in musicals, and held on to big dreams. In the early 60s, she was still unknown to the public. She worked as a go-go dancer in New York and took small television jobs where she could find them. Her bubbly personality and comedic timing later made her a star, but at 19, she was just another hopeful face in a city full of ambition and risk. Her rise in the entertainment industry wasn't easy. She was determined, but she knew she had to be cautious. Quote, "You had to be cute and you had to play it right," she once said about being a young woman in the business. You couldn't come off too strong or too ambitious. This balancing act, staying confident but not arrogant, open but not vulnerable, defined much of her professional life early on.
The computer dating company promised to find me a husband of equal interests and intelligence. Someone whose wheels turn like my own.
Her story mirrors that of many women in the entertainment industry during that time. There was little protection and few boundaries. She knew from the beginning she would have to rely on her instincts to stay safe even before she understood how dark some of these encounters could become. The encounter with Capp. Goldie was just 19 when she was invited to meet Capp, the creator of the popular comic strip Lil Abner. Capp was famous and powerful, and the meeting had been arranged as a potential career opportunity. Hawn, still new to the industry, had no reason to question the offer. She went to his Park Avenue office expecting a conversation about acting roles or industry connections. Instead, she found herself in a deeply uncomfortable and frightening situation. Quote, "I had a script and I was told he was doing a movie," she recalled in an interview with CBS Sunday Morning. "And I went up to his office and walked in and it was really dark." She said Capp told her to sit down and then disappeared into another room. When he returned, he had changed into a dressing gown.
And he said, no, higher. And I went, oh, and I put them down. I put my skirt down. And he said to me, now come on over here and give me a kiss. And I was shocked.
He said, quote, "I want you to show me your leg," Hawn remembered. "I went, excuse me?" He said, "I have to see your legs because I have to know whether you're going to wear a short skirt or not in the movie."
His whole apparatus, if you know what I'm talking about, his whole wiener was literally like lying there. Oh. And I looked at it. And I said, oh, Mr. Capp, I'll never get a job like this.
Hawn said she was shocked but kept her composure. She stood up, told him she wasn't interested, and turned to leave. At that point, she said Capp started shouting and insulting her. He said, "You're never going to be in this business. You'll be a failure." The words were meant to frighten her, to punish her for saying no. But she didn't stop walking. Quote, "I walked out," she said, "and I cried all the way down in the elevator." That day, Hawn had come face to face with a reality many young actresses knew too well, but rarely spoke about. The offer had never been about talent, it had been a trap. And she had escaped it, but not without lasting emotional harm. The immediate aftermath. Walking away from Capp's office may have saved Goldie Hawn from something worse, but the emotional toll followed her for years. She was young, alone, and trying to find her place in a ruthless industry. The encounter left her not only in tears, but filled with doubt. She had been humiliated and degraded by someone with power, and her instincts had been to run. Still, she couldn't help but question whether standing up for herself had closed doors before they ever opened. "I thought, maybe he's right, maybe I won't make it," she said in later interviews. "I was just a dancer. I didn't know anything about this world. I didn't know people could be that cruel, that manipulative." The experience shattered any illusions she had about the business being fair or safe. She said the power imbalance between young actresses and older men in positions of authority was obvious and terrifying. But Hawn didn't tell anyone at the time. She stayed silent, like so many women did. There were no safe places to report what happened, no clear systems to protect victims. Speaking out often meant being branded as difficult or ungrateful. Instead of getting help, women like Hawn carried the weight of these experiences quietly, absorbing the shame while the offenders continued unchecked. She chose to move forward, but the trauma shaped how she saw auditions, professional relationships, and trust in general. Quote, "You just start watching everything," she said. "You look for the signs, you learn fast." Capp's history of misconduct. Goldie Hawn's story is not the only one tied to Capp's name. As time went on, a clearer picture of Capp emerged, one that revealed a troubling pattern of behavior. While the public knew him as a satirical cartoonist who created the long-running Lil Abner strip behind closed doors, his reputation was far more disturbing. Several women came forward over the years with similar accounts, describing how Capp used his influence to prey on young women, often under the guise of offering career opportunities. One of the most publicized incidents happened in 1971 when Capp was accused of propositioning female students at the University of Alabama. He was later charged with attempted adultery after allegedly exposing himself to a student. The case did not go to trial, but it was not the only one. Reports also surfaced from other universities, including the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, where students and faculty described encounters that mirrored what Hawn experienced. Eventually, Capp pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of attempted adultery in Massachusetts, though he continued to deny any wrongdoing. His fall from grace was gradual but public. His comic strip lost readership, and he retired in 1977, just 2 years before his death. But despite the mounting allegations, there was little accountability. The cultural climate at the time did not support victims coming forward, and the media often treated such stories as gossip rather than serious misconduct. Goldie's experience in hindsight became part of a much larger, more disturbing legacy that went unchallenged for too long. Reflecting on what she later learned about Capp's history, Hawn said, quote, "I wasn't the only one, and I know that now, but when I was 19, I felt completely alone." Hawn's reflection years later. Decades after the incident, Goldie has spoken about the experience with clarity and courage. For years, she kept the memory quiet, focusing on building her career and protecting herself in an industry that rarely made space for these kinds of conversations. But with the rise of the Me Too movement and the growing push for accountability in Hollywood, Hawn began to share more openly about what happened and how it shaped her. Quote, "When everything started to break about women's stories, I thought, should I talk about this?" she said in a 2024 interview. "I had buried it, but I also knew it never really left me." She explained that while the pain dulled with time, the memory of that day was something she carried through her entire career. It informed how she moved through the business, how she judged people, and how she mentored younger actresses. Her decision to speak publicly wasn't about revenge or revisiting the past, it was about truth. Quote, "It wasn't just my story," she said. "It was all of ours. And if I could tell mine, maybe it would help someone else feel less alone." Hawn's voice, respected and beloved by many, added depth to a conversation that had long been silenced. She reminded the public that these stories weren't new, they had simply been hidden, ignored, or denied. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite role of Goldie Hawn's? Let us know in the comments section below.